the next morning, so Monday night I had a headache along with like the fuzziness in my vision. And then I went to bed. Like I took ibuprofen for it. I went to bed. The next morning I woke up again. I had a headache, and there was like a little bit more of like the vision loss and stuff. And so I was like, okay, that's not cool. How am I gonna drive to work? Because I drive about 20 minutes on on a highway. And so I don't want to be endangering anyone else's life, and I don't really want to be endangering mine. And my fiance would not have let me leave anyways if this was still going on. And so I told him, I'm like, yo, this is still happening. And then and within a few minutes of talking to him, I had already gotten dressed, I already had my shoes on, and done all the things I need to do. And then all of a sudden, from eyebrows to the back of my neck, to right here, it was just full on. My head hurt so bad, and I was like, oh my god, it hurts. And so I started Googling again, of course. There was tons of stuff about it's a migraine, and Google and WebMD like to give you, you're either pregnant or it's cancer or it's both. It was kind of like that. It was like, oh, it's either just this mild migraine or it's a mini stroke or something, something crazy, something that shouldn't happen to a 23-year-old, first off, or to most people. And I was sitting there Googling, and all of a sudden I started to feel very weird, and so I get deja vu pretty often, and it's very disorienting to me. I don't know if anyone else is like that. I know Jenna Marbles has talked about deja vu for her, and she welcomes it, and she likes her deja vu, and that's amazing for her. But my deja vu makes it very hard for me to, I just feel so very disoriented because it's so hard for me to understand what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing, if it's real versus something that I've seen in a dream. And so it puts me on edge, and it makes me feel very, very uncomfortable. And so, and I started having that, and it was really just beyond something that I could handle, and I started to feel like I was overheating, not physically, but my brain, it just was doing too much, and I felt like I was gonna pass out. So I walked over to the bed, and I told Derek, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. I'm starting to feel very weird, and he told me to lay down. And as soon as I laid down, it was I felt okay, but then I called the doctor's office that I went to for my vertigo, and they said, I told them exactly what was happening, and they said, go to the ER in case they have to do scans. It's probably nothing, and they'll figure it out. But go there so they can do scans if they need to. And I was like, okay. And I called my mom, and my grandma lives about 20 minutes from me, so she came. I went to the ER, got right into the ER, and I was telling all these doctors, so many doctors and so many people came to talk to me because I know for a fact they thought it was just a migraine and I was just being a baby, and nothing against them, but you don't see a lot of 20-something-year-olds with anything more than migraines or something mild. And so I understand why they didn't think it was something bad, but they just kept asking questions. And then they gave me this cocktail of they gave me an IV, and they gave me this cocktail of stuff, which was Benadryl and a painkiller for my migraine and something else. And oh boy, did that just, I cannot explain how I felt, but I felt uncomfortable in my own skin. I felt I started to just it was kind of one of those overheating moments where there was just too much. I felt uncomfortable. I felt I don't care what's wrong with me. I want to go home because I don't want to answer any more questions. I was to the point where there were so many people asking me questions that I wanted to just get out of there and just go home and be in my comfort zone where people were leaving me alone. And I cannot explain more than that. I just felt uncomfortable in my own skin, and I felt like I just couldn't handle what was happening. And so, and like the Benadryl was making me tired, and so they were waiting on like a nurse to come get me to take me to get an MRI on my brain. And so I was just like so uncomfortable. My grandma was there, my fiance was there, and I was just saying like I don't feel good. I don't like this. I just kept saying like I don't like the way I feel right now. And they were like, my fiance was like, don't fight it. Just like go to sleep if you feel tired. And so I started to doze off. I'm like in this hospital bed and I'm starting to doze off and stuff. And then finally, after like maybe an hour and a half, I don't know, I don't remember time because you're in like this, weird hospital, bed, and like you can't, there's no windows, so you don't know what time it is. I stripped off, like, they made me take off all my piercings and all the things on my, I had a Fitbit then, but like they made me take my ring off and stuff because it's MRI. It's a giant magnet. So no metal, nothing. So they made me take everything off, and so like I didn't know what time it was, nothing. And I didn't know it at the time. My mom was on her way, which I am so thankful for that because, everyone needs their mom in scary situations. And their dad, whoever those people are to you, or whoever's your go-to people and the people that care about you most. You want them there with you because it's scary and it's weird, and I've never been in the hospital before. I had never felt this way. My brother was the accident-prone one that had been in hospitals tons of times in his life. And my mom had, stage 4 breast cancer, so she's been in the hospital a bunch. But me and my dad, we barely get hurt, we barely get sick, whatever. But so, they took me to the MRI. They have to inject, contrast into your IV so that it shows up, it flows through the veins, so it shows, all that. And so they did that. That sucked. It was like 45 minutes of just being in this thing where I had to stay like completely straight and like no movement, and I was like dozing off, and it sucked because when I sleep I twitch, and so me moving inside that thing was imperative to what they're trying to do. So that was finally over, and they're like, you're going to want to drink water for the next 24 hours, like 4 ounces an hour to get rid of that contrast from your system, And like, I can go into depth on like the science of this stuff if that's what people want, because I love science and I love talking about it, and I also love to hear myself talk. I'm kind of a narcissist when it comes to that. Also, I like to feel smart, but who doesn't? So I got the MRI, and then they were like, oh, we might not do a CT, but it was a while. Like, by the time they had results, I mean, they did blood work too, and they did urinalysis and all that. They had to make sure I wasn't pregnant, so that, all these tests that they were doing weren't going to, be hurting anything. So once they had results, my dad was there, my mom was there, my grandma and Derek were there. So, and my brother couldn't just leave work and stuff, but, so we were just sitting there, and all of a sudden, like, a bunch of doctors had popped in, like, students, from Western Michigan, student doctors and stuff that were there. They came and asked me questions, like, they had me start from the beginning, tell them everything, and so, at that point, I felt fine. Like, the drugs kind of, like, leveled out, and I felt okay. And, like, I was, laughing and joking with my family because I didn't think anything was really wrong, and so I, whatever, I was expecting them just to be like, oh, we'll give you medication because, you have pretty bad migraines, whatever. So, one of the doctors that I had met with came in, and he kind of just like he was really nice and everything. He came in and he just was like, so it looks like you had a stroke. And I was like, oh. And like, I looked at Derek, and he was like, because we were all like joking and stuff before this guy walks in and tells me that. And it's funny because, if you remember, Google told me that it might have been a mini stroke. And when I told Derek that, oh, Google says it's a mini stroke, he made fun of me, in which I didn't think it was really a mini stroke, but it was like it was this weird moment of, okay, I mean, if anyone knows me, they know that I love to be right, and um, so it was like, oh my God, I had a stroke, but oh my God, I was right. And so it was this weird, like, and you know, my great grandma had a stroke during surgery, but she was also old, and it was during surgery, and then, you know, she had many strokes after that. But I'm 23 years old. I'm relatively in good health. I mean, all the tests they did showed nothing, no problems. Like, I don't smoke. I drink every once in a while. But so it was a mini stroke, and it was in this the right occipital lobe, and it was a narrowing artery in my brain that it just was a narrowing artery, and so and a blood clot from somewhere in my body traveled to my brain and, like, you know, blocked that artery off, and that's what causes the stroke. Is there's just no blood getting to that part of the brain, and so a stroke happens. And mine was one of the most common. About 80% of people have strokes like that, and then there's 20% that have this other type of stroke that's way worse. It's like where your brain, like, just starts pooling blood in an area, but mine blood wasn't getting to that area, and so technically part of my occipital lobe is dead. Because, you know, it was deprived of blood, and so it didn't get oxygen and things that it needs, and so part of it is dead, and that's why it caused my left side to you know, go black, or yeah, like lose vision. And I regained most of it, and they said that they weren't sure if I'd ever get 100% back because the nerves are damaged now, but the good nerves will almost always take over some of the work to, you know, get you back to normal. But yeah, so I had a mini stroke, and I have, like, right now I still have a little bit of, like, vision loss. There's like this little, there's like, maybe it's like, I mean, when I look at stuff, there's like, if I look straight on at something, there's just like a piece of it missing, like a tiny little piece. Like, if I look at a face, I usually do this where I look directly at the nose, and when I look at the nose, I can't see, like, maybe their right eye, because it's on my left, you know, vision field. And I was cleared by an ophthalmologist to go back to work. I drive, you know, nothing's wrong, but they still aren't sure why. But they think it's partially because I didn't know this, but I guess I have high blood pressure, and I was on birth control, which, you know, there's a risk for blood clots, and